Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. We are super excited for this one because we've got Senna from Crowdriff, and we're going to be talking about boosting your brand with local UGC creators. I think this is going to be such a helpful webinar because I think we all see like creators and partnerships like on the outside, like on social media. But speaking for myself, sometimes like the ins and outs can be a little bit mystifying. So I think this webinar will help a lot of people like feel more empowered to partner with creators. And I just think people are going to learn a lot today. But as people are joining the webinar, I'd love to know, oh, Senna, you've already got a fan in the chat. We've got a Senna fan, Senna Fitch. I love that. And as people are joining, I'd love to know where you're joining from and let me know what the weather is like where you are. I feel like this is a very Canadian trait, but I'm always curious what the weather is where people are. Senna, I'm going to speak for you for a second. We're both in Toronto, and I'm wondering if you're as relieved with the weather as I am, because it's kind of been on the cooler side lately. Like, yeah.
I literally was wearing a sweatshirt this morning. I was like, what's happening?
Same. I had one on yesterday, and I was like, I never want to rush fall. I love summer, but this summer has been a hot and humid one. We've got hot in LA. Just north of Tampa, still so hot. Oh, we got someone from Quebec City. Feels like September. I love that. New Brunswick.
Wow.
Windy and cold.
All over.
I know. It's so fun to see where people are. Okay, I love that. Okay, so as people are trickling in, sharing where they're coming from, I'll do some housekeeping slides just to let people know who we are. I did want to let people know how to turn on closed captions just at the top of the webinar. We're going to pop some instructions into the chat. The one thing is you do need to be in Chrome, but Jesse's just popped the instructions in there. We're going to go to settings, accessibility, and then live captions if you need to turn on closed captioning. So that's how you do it. And we're going to hop right into the housekeeping slides, and then we'll get into Senna's incredible content. So if this is your first time at a webinar, maybe you found us on LinkedIn, or maybe someone has sent this to you, and you're kind of wondering like, who the heck is HeyOrca? Hello, that is us. We are a social media management tool for teams and agencies. So basically, we're here to help you with all of your scheduling needs. And we also have unlimited users, which I love bragging about because it's really helpful for teams that collaborate a lot. And also, if you don't follow us on Instagram, I think you totally should. We just posted a meme that I think is really funny, if I may say so myself. But basically, you should follow us on every platform if you like getting social media tips, getting updates, getting relatable memes, and getting some resources. Jesse has just popped our link in the chat, so definitely give us a follow there. And we're going to hop into some quick intros. Oh my gosh, Jesse has linked my meme. Thank you. Everyone go like and comment. I'm just kidding, but actually not. But we're going to do a quick round of intros. So my name is Natalie. I am the social media community strategist here at HeyOrca. So I am obsessed with all things social media and community. I love, 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 love featuring our community on social. So if you're ever interested in collabing on anything, please don't be afraid to reach out. Jesse has just popped my LinkedIn in the chat as well. I love making new friends and connections. So also please feel free to connect on LinkedIn. I would love to meet you guys on there. And I'm going to pass it over to Senna.
Hello, I'm Senna, and I'm the Senior Social Media Manager at Crowdriff, which is a visual marketing platform for travel brands. And I'm so excited to be here. I was telling Natalie I was really glad to meet HeyOrca and you and HeyOrca and a lot of other new friends at in person at the HeyOrca Summit back in May. So it's really nice to be here. And yeah, I'm excited to chat about all things UGC.
We are so happy to have you here, Senna. Yay. Okay, and then lastly, everyone's favorite thing, it's time to talk about giveaways. We love doing giveaways with our webinar, and we have 2 ways that you can enter a giveaway to potentially win an Amazon gift card. So the first way is super easy. We've got a poll going on over on our LinkedIn page, and the question is your brand using UGC? Jesse has just linked the poll down there. So super easy. All you have to do is vote on that poll, let us know, and you're automatically entered to win the Amazon gift card. And that winner will be announced tomorrow. And then the second way to enter to win to potentially win an Amazon gift card is just to share something that you've learned from today's webinar on LinkedIn. Make sure you tag us so we can see it. And because that one takes a little bit more effort to do a LinkedIn post, I don't know about you guys, it takes me a little while to write my LinkedIn posts. So we have a little bit longer for that. We have until next Tuesday, and then we'll be picking a winner. And a little tip that we love to share is, like, one hack is just to screenshot a slide that's particularly interesting to you and then share that in your LinkedIn post and, share what you learned on there. So just a little tip from me to you. And with all of that housekeeping out of the way, we're going to get Senna's slides up and we'll get started with the webinar. Feel free to ask your questions in the chat and we'll get to them. But without further ado, I will let you take the stage, Senna.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let me get my slides. Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you again, Natalie and HeyOrca, for having me. And I'm just, so excited to chat with you all about local UGC creators and how they can help boost your brand. This is a topic I get asked a lot about. So really excited to dive in. But first, just a quick intro. My name is Senna. Like I mentioned, I'm the Senior Social Media Manager at Crowdriff, which is a marketing platform for travel brands. And I have over 10 years of social media experience in a lot of different industries. I had like my academia era, my arts era, my tech era. And I also have a background in writing and filmmaking. So I find that has really come in handy for video editing and content creation. And fun fact, yes, named after a Formula One driver named Ayrton Senna. So if there are any F1 fans or F1 girlies in the chat, let me know. I already got my tickets to the Canadian Grand Prix next year in Montreal for a 3rd time. So I cannot stop. Yay, glad to see. Oh my God, we got some F1 fans. We can chat later. So here's a quick look at what we'll be talking about today. So I'm going to start with a quick intro as to like what creator marketing is, and then move into real benchmarks for rates and tips on writing a really strong content brief, examples of collabs that I love in the wild, and then finally some workflow tools to help just make all of this easier. So as Natalie mentioned, please feel free to ask questions in the chat. We'll try to answer them as we go, or we might have time at the end too. Okay, so first things first, why are content creators so important in the marketing world? So thanks, Jesse. Yeah, it's really fun finding pics for this presentation. So creator marketing is all about working with people who make content that feels real and resonates with audiences. And it's often more effective than traditional polished and shiny brand ads. So creator marketing is a really huge and growing part of the digital marketing strategy across all industries. So if you haven't already tapped into this, now is the perfect time to start. So let's talk numbers. So before though, actually, I'm curious if anyone here is already working with creators. I know, let us know in the LinkedIn poll, but also curious too in the chat if you've been thinking about it, if you already are. But here's some recent stats that show just how powerful creator marketing is. So the creator economy is projected to hit $480 billion by 2027. And enterprise brands are already spending $1.7 million per year on influencer campaigns. And my favorite stat is creator content generates about 10 times more shares than brand-made content. So these numbers all show that this isn't just a trend. Like, this is a total shift in how marketing works. And I don't know about you, but I can definitely see why. Let me know in the chat if you've been personally, not victimized, but personally influenced by a seemingly casual video. I know I've just watched IKEA hacks And then I'm like, oh, I want this IKEA lamp. And I'm like, wait, like this just happened. Or like, oh, someone's just trying like, I was watching someone doing like a matcha crawl in Toronto, like trying every matcha spot. And I was like, I want to go there.
Convincing. Yeah. There's quite a few yeses in the chat. And if you're curious, so for our poll, 22% of people responded frequently, 59% said sometimes, and 19% not at all. So definitely more yeses than nos.
Nice. Okay, glad to hear it. So many of you are no stranger to how powerful this is. And yes, Jesse, I too am so easily influenced. It's very embarrassing. So yeah, glad to hear it. So really, this is an example though of how just like that scrappy storytelling of a creator can just feel so much more relatable than a traditional ad, because you feel like you're connecting with a real person and their real experiences instead of just like a logo or a brand. Grace is drinking matcha from the place that they were influenced
in the chat. Yeah.
So another sign that creator content is more important than ever is this big social media SEO update from last month that you probably already heard from HeyOrca's very timely updates. But in case you haven't, Instagram posts and Reels are now directly indexed by search engines like Google. So this is really important because it means your social media strategy and SEO is a whole other outlet to boost your brand's discoverability and traffic. So by using the right SEO keyword strategy, your Instagram content can now reach even more people by showing up on search, like not just in the app itself, but also Google search results. So you might have even noticed this yourself as a user that, there are more Instagram posts at the top on the front page. And there's also a new short videos tab on Google as well. And like AI tools are starting to surface posts as well. So just more proof that social is not going anywhere. It's getting more and more important. Okay, so here's a quick overview of some common terms that come up in creator marketing. So first is UGC, so many acronyms in the world, but UGC stands for user-generated content. And this can be any content created by people about a brand. So usually this is videos and photos, but it can also be written things like reviews or testimonials or blogs. And UGC marketing in particular is when brands leverage UGC to help with their promotion. So this can be either with pre-existing content. So like when a makeup brand reshares someone's like get ready with me reel where they tagged, the products that they're using. Or it can be custom content that you have partnered with a creator to commission and make especially for you. So as mentioned, generally UGC is much more authentic and diverse and relatable versus traditional ads. And a content creator is anyone producing this high quality and engaging content. So they can be hired by a brand for marketing, and they're often chosen because they can match a brand's content or vibe without like totally taking out the spotlight and making it all about their personal brand. And other brands can use and repurpose this commissioned content in a lot of different ways, but we'll talk more about usage rights later because that is also very important. So an influencer is a content creator with a big social media following who's paid to promote different products or services or experiences to their followers to, influence them. So influencers are they're a brand of their own, but also serving as the face of other brands. So they're not just selling their content, but also access to their followers when you work with them. And there are lots of different levels of influencers depending on their follower count size, which I'll dive a bit more into when we talk about pricing. So I get this question a lot. There's a lot of overlap between the two. So like, what's the difference? That's why I put Pam from the office like, are they the same? They're kind of the same, right? So they're both part of online communities. They both collaborate with brands and they both have a great eye for visual storytelling. So they both provide so much value. I always say this. This is not a like, who's better, right? Like pitting them against each other. And the main difference is their focus. So it all depends on your goals as a brand. So this chart here isn't even necessarily the be all end all, like there's so much overlap, but it's a really handy place to start when you're thinking about what kind of creator would best serve your campaign's goals. So I always say if you're really lucky to have the budget, I always recommend brands having a two-pronged approach when it comes to marketing with both influencers and content creators. So you can have, for example, an influencer promote a special event you have coming up with like a sponsored post just for that like instant recognition and hype because it'll be shared like right away with their big following. But then you can always partner with more local content creators for your long-term marketing strategies, like building your evergreen content library. So posts you can always use later on. The TLDR, I always say though, is all influencers are content creators, But not all content creators are necessarily influencers or even want to be. So different goals, right? I always like to say it's kind of like how all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. So yeah, this, if you can remember anything from this, remember this.
I feel like that's so helpful because it can be confusing between the two, or sometimes they can be used interchangeably, but that's a really helpful way to remember it.
Yeah, I find it's really, it can get easy to just forget all the like differences, but that's always like the go-to. and that they aren't one is not necessarily better than the other. That's always what I say too. It's like, just, it all depends on what you're looking for. So yeah, so let's talk money. So these next few slides, I know people are always very curious about it. Benchmarks on creator rates and key factors to keep in mind as to how to save. So more numbers. So UGC videos right now average between about $150 to $300 each, with $175 being the median rate per single video. So that's not that bad if you think about the shelf life of like a good piece of content, and also how influencer rates can really scale wildly depending on their following. So the key takeaway though is that these rates really depend on the person and their reach and the type of content that you need. So this we'll get more into the nitty-gritty, but this is just like an overview to start. So this table will give you like a better sense of the landscape when it comes, I mentioned, to follower accounts and costs. So, there's nano levels, micro, mid-tier, macro, mega, right? So it really depends. And again, like this is not the be all end all, but just a good guide. But I personally like to think of it as like venue pricing. So like nano influencers, for example, just like 1,000 to 10,000 followers. I equate that to like you're trying to book like an event at like a local venue, like a local neighborhood cafe or a bar that's more affordable, but also has like much more engaged like regulars. And then mega influencers, I compare to like booking a luxury hotel for like your conference, right? With like more reach and amenities, more like va-va-voom, but you're going to pay for it. So try to think of it like that too, if that analogy helps.
People are loving your analogies in the chat, by the way. A lot of love for the previous one, and I love this one. I think these are so helpful.
I'm so glad. Yeah, happy to help make this like just all easier. So so there are a lot of different key factors that go into the creator rates. So it's tempting just to look at follower count, but it's not everything. So I've personally seen like our clients at Crowdriff partner with really small local creators and get like great engagement with their great storytelling. And those posts like outperform bigger names, right? So again, not pitting them against each other, but just really depends. And you'd be surprised at just how powerful just like good storytelling is. So you really want to factor in the type of content as well. So for example, obviously like a 60-second reel probably costs more than just like a one-off story. So things like that. Other key factors to keep in mind are timelines and the content format, and whether you can run ads with their content. This all affects pricing. So we'll be going a bit more into that as well. But personally, like another example is like seasonality. So like I work in the travel industry. So we often get like a high demand from our customers during certain peak seasons or activities like the winter holidays, or like it's cherry blossom season, like, we need our content like right now. So all these things you should keep in mind just when it goes into, when you think about creator rates. So here's where we can get resourceful. So I always tell people working with smaller creators is just like this untapped gold mine. So like no matter the size of your brand, there's always someone in your area, like in your niche, that is already like your biggest fan. So you should be tapping into that. So be crystal clear in your content briefs as well to avoid misunderstandings. We'll go into this a bit more later. Make sure you confirm your rights up front. And I also recommend you test organic campaigns before you start putting in paid ad spend, just as like a quick pulse check to see how content is performing. And then I always say this too, remember content is a renewable resource. So a single video can be sliced, diced, captioned, and repackaged like for months, and also beyond just Instagram. So it can be added to your website headers or like a blog. You can, link the posts that you make in your blog to, encourage that social SEO, right? It all feeds into each other, and you can repurpose it onto other social platforms. So I always like to say that content should never be a one and done thing. So anytime you're thinking like, oh, all that for just like one video, it's like, no, that video will like keep your content library going. So yeah, never underestimate a good piece of content. Okay, so I always say also choosing a creator with my movie background is like casting for a movie. So you want someone who fits the role naturally, and they should already feel like they're a fan of your brand. So there are a bunch of different ways to find creators. You can manually search for them on socials by searching hashtags or keywords related to your brand. And once you've found a few solid content creators, honestly, we all know how creepy the algorithm is. It'll do a lot of work for you. It will start already suggesting similar accounts for you to follow. And you can also go even deeper and look at the creators' post comments and follower lists to find other creators in the same network. And the pros to this method is that it's very low cost, right? You're doing all the work. It gets you right in on the action if you love lurking like me. But the cons to this are it's a big time commitment and very high potential for getting lost in the sauce and doom scrolling. I will say that. It's like, where am I? Like you're just suddenly in a rabbit hole. So I will mention that. So that's where another way is to find the right creator is using an influencer marketing platform. And I'll get into some more examples later, but these platforms basically aggregate like influencers into a database. So it makes it really easy to make a quick and targeted search. And this is a really useful option if you have the budget to like really scale your influencer marketing program. Okay, so here is creator criteria. Say that 10 times fast. I can't. But here's a quick checklist that you can use to make sure you're choosing the right creator for your brand. So first is brand affinity. So explore the creator's content to see if your audience will click with their values. Next is engagement numbers. So get a quick sense of their view and share counts and quality of the comments just to see how well their content is connecting with their audience. And remember that an engaged community is often a stronger indicator of success than a big follower account. Right? So it's all about that community building. And next is visual style. So they don't always have to be like super fancy professionals with like all the latest gear, but they do have to have a good eye for visuals and good general editing skills. So watch their videos, see if they have a good variety of like stable and clear shots and like clean or creative transitions. And last but not least, in sparkles, of course, is that authenticity factor. So do they feel relatable and genuine? Like, are you getting a good vibe from them? Are their storytelling skills strong? Is their personality shining through? And are you interested? Like, are you engaged in their content? So now you found a creator that you want to collaborate with. It's time to make the first move. So like dating, I do like to say, you don't just want to do a cold DM like, hey, want to collab. So you have to warm up the relationship first. So start with a follow, have some genuine interactions with their latest content. And then when you're ready, send an email with exactly what you're looking for. So I always advise sending an email over a DM because if they're not following you back on Instagram, it can get lost in like their requests box. So usually their email will be on their profile or website, but if you can't find it, you can always leave a comment on one of their posts and ask them to send their contact details in a DM. So yeah, now after that, it's time to send your personalized and detailed first email. So include info like type of content, timelines, and payment. You don't need to like share all your hard numbers right away, but give a sense of how they'll be compensated and ask for their rates. And don't forget to be personable and real. So of course, we're probably going to have some kind of template. Maybe we'll use ChatGPT to help us that you'll be reusing for your reach outs, but always take time to personalize it to whoever you're reaching out to, just so that you're bringing like that great personable first impression of you and your brand. Glad everyone's loving the Cinderella story. Yeah, I rewatched that actually a couple months ago. It was on Netflix. Still holds up. Okay, so now you've reached out and you've told your dream creator about your campaign. And if they've replied saying they're interested, now is the time to send your content brief. So I always suggest waiting for the second email to send the brief because the best briefs are personalized to the creator and that takes lots of time. So don't waste yours unless they've already expressed genuine interest in collaborating with your brand. And I asked one of our top Crowdriff creators the one thing she wants clients to know about her briefs. And I love what she said. She said, the clearer and more detailed the content brief is, the better it is for effective content creation. So straight from the creator's mouth. So how can we make sure that this content brief is crystal clear? So before you even get started on your brief, I always like to recommend using data from your social media metrics to inform your content ideas. So you might be using a social media management tool like HeyOrca or another platform that can tell you like what your most successful posts are and how can you replicate that success as a campaign, right? Like it might just be a one-off, but what if it isn't, right? Like you might have like figured out what is really resonating with your audience. So once you have that, start to think about your content brief and these 4 pillars. So there's logistics, campaign summary, messaging, and visuals. So For logistics, restate everything from your first email just to be super clear. Campaign summary, tell the creator what they're promoting. You don't have to share like your internal deck, but definitely give them enough specifics to understand exactly how they'll be contributing to the campaign. So creators aren't always responsible for measuring the performance of their collaboration content, but it's definitely still really helpful for them to know how you plan to measure success, because this will help them craft their story and include the right call to action for your audience. So I did include some general goals here in this slide, like increase sales and website traffic, but I do want to say that's really helpful to share very clear and specific objectives. So for example, I work with a lot of travel agencies and DMOs. If we say something like, we want to encourage more family visits to our downtown area this summer, right? Like that's really clear and not just like, we want more likes on our social posts. So be clear, right? And then for messaging, here's always where you can give any pointers about your brand's vibe. I do generally advise not pushing for exact phrasing or like a precise script they have to follow, because it's always really obvious when creators are like just being normal and then suddenly they're like, and because like they like get a shift to like their ad voice and it's like, oh, like it really just like breaks that magic. So instead just share a few talking points that the creator can rework in their own voice. And tone can be hard to nail down too. So I always say, like, I like to think of it as the vibe instead. So think of a few adjectives or like feeling words that describe how you want the audience to feel, like awestruck or nostalgic, or like they're talking to a good friend. And I find that these just give more detail than the usual, just like friendly, right? Or trustworthy. And then last but not least is visuals. So there's no problem in outlining some key visuals you want in a shot list, but definitely make sure to leave room for the creator's creative interpretation, because that's why you're hiring them. They're a professional. And you can use AI tools to help you craft this content brief with these headings. We use it to help our customers streamline their requests on our platform so that everything's like consistent and clear. Okay. Now, quick crash course on usage rights. I am no lawyer, my dad is, but this is a quick crash course, and it's where a lot of brands slip up, and it's like, it's okay. But I was wondering if there's anyone here in the chat who wants to share, like, has anyone had a campaign stalled because of like unclear usage rights? Like, it's okay to share. Definitely, I know in the past I've had to be clear and realize like, oh, actually, like I meant this. And so this part can really save or cost you thousands. So it's really important to be really explicit upfront. So ask yourself, can you use the content forever or only for 3 months? Is it exclusive just to you, or can the creator repost it elsewhere too? Are you posting organically or running paid ads with it? And where exactly will it be published? So find out, get those clear written agreements answering these questions, and that will prevent headaches later. Yes. Oh, yeah. So I see, in the chat, there's a few things. Yeah. So yeah, with Creators Creators by Crowdriff is our like creator management tool. So our usage rights are that the creator still owns the footage, so they're able to like repost it as well. But yeah, these things are always like you can negotiate as well.
And Rose is pointing out in the chat to add to usage rights, make sure the terms are also clear to the internal team so that all departments know which content can be reused and where, which is a really good point that I wouldn't have thought of.
Yes, totally.
Nice. I'm wondering if, because we're pausing to look at the chat, we have had a question come up based on something a little bit earlier when it comes to budget. So we've got a question about like, what if someone like has no budget, UGC creators? I did want to share, someone responded to that question and saying that if they're product-based, they recommend like targeting known brand lovers and maybe offering content in exchange for product. I'm wondering if you had any other advice related to that question, or if you think that's a pretty solid answer.
Totally. Yeah, I noticed, I know it can be tough when you're not product-based, but it's all about getting like a little creative. So think about who are your champions. It also might even be your own employees, your own staff. I know HeyOrca is very good at that, right? Like if you have like your staff posting about, new updates or things that you love about your brand, that can also be a really organic way of sharing content that isn't made, by you, right? Like by the logo, by the brand, official brand page, but that you're resharing it from real people. So yeah, get creative, right? You can think of your employees as your champions. any reviews that you might be able to get from your users, right? So don't be afraid to ask for reviews, even if it just means like, oh, like, can you just write a short sentence that we can use on our website? And eventually you can repurpose that onto socials, right? You can make into a cute graphic, right? There are different ways that you can use different kinds of UGC. So definitely a lot of like photo and video UGC can be maybe trickier to get if you're not product based. But even if it's, I'm not sure exactly what brand you might be with, but if it's like an experience too, like you will always have like guests, experiencing your brand. You'll always have people who will have thoughts about your brand after, they have a good experience. So yeah, swag to reward your brand enthusiasts. Yeah, totally. So there are lots of different ways, and like a lot of no budget ways too. So even just like encouraging people to share, to tag you, and then you'll be able to repost. It doesn't always have to be exchanged for a product.
Nice.
Yeah.
And we had another question, wondering for advice for approaching similar or larger local brands to help pool budget together. So this person specifically is saying that part of their services involve tourism promotion for a region. Would it be worth working with a provincial brand to bring attention to our region?
Yeah, totally. In this case, like, always collaborations will only bring good things. Is always what I say. Like tapping into not only your niche networks, but the networks of people around you and like any colleagues in the same space, I think will always, just lead to more opportunities for both of you too. And it will kind of create that organic growth.
Nice. And then related to, I think, a little bit more about like usage and rights and legality, we've got a question. When do people have to post saying it's an ad? Which is a question I myself have, because I feel like that's been kind of a recent thing that people have to disclose that something's an ad.
Yes, totally. So yeah, you've probably seen, the hashtag ad or like hashtag gifted, things like that, or like, thank you, like at blah, blah, blah for gifting me this experience. And I do think there might be different laws depending where you are. So I don't want to, say the be all end all, but definitely just like personally, I think like ethically it's important, to say like whether or not you've been paid to do this collaboration, right? That's why we have like the paid partnership, like little tag, like, and you might see that sometimes like when you're on Instagram, when it's like a collaboration post, if they're not getting paid and it's just like more of a like mutual, because also sometimes UGC isn't paid, right? And it's just like a cute, like, oh, cool. Like we're sharing stuff and, just being part of the community, that can sometimes happen too. But yeah, whenever there's like money involved, I think it's important to put like that it's a paid opportunity or that's been gifted. Just to kind of that transparency is appreciated generally from your followers.
Makes sense. And then I'm gonna get one last question for the chat before I let you move forward, and then we'll still address other questions that come in. But one more question is about PR gifts and how those work.
Ooh, yeah. So depending on what your product is, you might kind of scope out creators and give them gifts that then they will use to talk about your brand. So personally at Crowdriff, we don't do that because we're like we're a software platform, but say, if like you're even like a restaurant, right? And you have like, oh, like I'm going to send out like a gift card, to these creators to then come visit our restaurant for free. And then if they have a great experience, which hopefully they will have, then they'll talk about it or leave a good review. So this can be like for experiences or for like actual objects.
Nice. And actually, sorry, I've just
no worries. I don't.
And then I really will let you get on. But we've got a question asking, how do you deal with creators who agreed and signed the contract, but then never gave you the content after you sent them products? That sounds like a more legal issue.
Yeah, that is tricky. That one's hard because there's only so much chasing down you can do. I mean, I'm shameless in my follow-up emails. I don't know if like you have any other way of contacting them. That one's a really tricky one, and I think would really depend on what you've already sent them, like what product. Like if it's just like a one-off, maybe it's like, okay, like unfortunately they've ghosted you. If it's something bigger, then I would maybe find out other ways to get in contact with them.
Yeah, makes sense.
That was a tricky one though. Yeah.
Thanks, Anna.
Yeah, yeah, really, really great questions. I'm sure more will come up too as I as we move through the slides. So yeah, for timelines, I always say these three things: be realistic, be clear, but also be flexible, right? So I always just say creativity takes time, but also make sure to be clear, right? Put everything into writing so that everything's straightforward, and know that life will happen. There are always going to be some bumps in the process. I always say that, like, an anecdote is that a lot of travel brands I work with know that content shoots are very weather dependent, for example. So they know to build that into their timelines, and know that making reviews and content revisions can also take time. So if that's part of your agreement, make sure to work that into the milestones of your timeline, and not only give the creator enough time to work with your revisions, but for your team to give those revisions. I know sometimes it's like, I'm still waiting on my manager to give this feedback. So make sure to build that all into your timeline as well. Okay, so fun time. Now let's look at some real world examples of brand creator collabs in the wild that I love. So this first one is a partnership between Ford and Black Adventure Crew. I'm just going to open it here. So it's a really good example of just ongoing partnerships that feel really authentic through their storytelling. So they share anecdotes about adopting their dog and traveling the world together. Look at how cute this is. And of course, you see it is a paid partnership. They're the cars in the background, but they're really sharing their dog rescue story and how they're always on the road with this cute pup. So I think that's a really good example of just very, very true, authentic storytelling. And then next is Visit Sandy Springs, teamed up with Corey Lee. So I'll just play this on mute in the background. But Corey Lee specializes in accessible travel and has a really engaged audience that this brand got to tap into with these collaborative posts. And I just really like how this spotlights Corey as an expert with lived experience. And this really promotes the travel brand as one that cares about diversity and promoting these accessible, inclusive activities with their audience. And I also want to include these examples too, as some of these brands, actually back here, right? Ford has 6 million followers, right? Huge. But then, Black Adventure Crew has less, but it still helps their brand, right? It follower count still doesn't necessarily matter and can still be really effective. And in this case, Visit Sandy Springs has less followers than Corey Lee. So really big boost for their platform. They're really reaching a lot more, new accounts too with this reach. And then this one's my personal favorite, as in F1 girly. So I'll just open this up again on mute. But the fintech company, oh my God, slider, am I human? Let's see. Please. Okay, yes. Okay, so the fintech company Wise tapped into a very different fandom by partnering with this guy. I was just to say, this guy's just a guy. He isn't didn't set out to be an influencer or this mega, content creator, but he's traveling around the world to every single Formula One race this year. And so naturally, money comes up, right? He's talking about his budget. He's talking about, oh my God, yay, Meyer, you watch this guy. Yeah. So he's talking about his budget, his travel, reviewing the races. So he does these really great recaps of all of these things where he naturally then shouts out Wise for helping him manage his money in different currencies while he travels. So it's folded in so smartly. It's just really natural. And I didn't even realize it was a partnership while I was watching it. Yeah. What a goal. Literally, this is, yeah, I watch it out of jealousy too. This is my dream. We'll see. Maybe we can all do this as a group trip. And then here's another example. So getting smaller now, because I really want to show how creator partnerships it doesn't matter how big or small your brand is. So this is Civic Lex. That is a nonprofit organization. So they teamed up with Shantae, who is mostly actually in the book community, Book Talk, but is also part of our Crowdriff Creators Travel UGC network. And she takes part in other paid opportunities like this one with her local public library board. And I just thought that this is such a cute, it's just a really real story about just oh, I want to give back more to my community, right? She's talking about how she's always been a library lover and all the things that she loves about being part of their new board of advisors. So this is an example of just a nonprofit getting in on this UGC content. So it doesn't always have to be makeup or things or, restaurants. It can be, things like this, joining a board. So I really liked this. And it shows that you don't really need big mega budgets or anything to make a big impact. And then last but not least is an even smaller one. So getting even smaller. That one was only a few thousand. This is under 1,000. So we're talking really small, and I still think this is so effective. So this is also Crowdriff creator Sammy. She teamed up with Rent a Bike for a paid partnership. And she just did this really great, simple day in the life post. It's like so simple, but so effective because it's this really relatable story about being scared of riding a bike in the city, and then how the folks at Rent a Bike were just so welcoming and accommodating. And she ended up, like biking around all day. Like it's a great story. We love a success story. And yeah, I just think this is, again, a really good example of like Sammy has, Sammy has just shy of 1,000 followers, and Rent a Bike has 650 followers and growing, right? So it's a really great example of how you can just get creative with the locals in your area to promote your brand. Okay, so inching towards the end. So I know firsthand that managing like all of this, like social media and everything, takes a lot of time and organization. So just want to quickly share some tools that can help with that. So these platforms like Clear and Collabster and Heapsy, all these names sound like I'm making them up. I'm not, but all these names, all these brands can help you find the right creators. So they're for discovery and outreach. And I just like to remind people that usually, though, these platforms stop after the introduction. So you'll still be taking care of writing the briefs and like managing the content and all the creator payments yourself. And that's where these all-in-one platforms get really handy because everything is centralized. So these help you juggle all of your influencer partnerships and like track their performance and coordinate all your campaigns. So I always like to say that these are really ideal for like one-off posts or partnerships, or if you're managing like a lot of different kinds, or trying to like monitor which people are talking about your brand. I would use these as opposed to if your goal is to get raw assets for creating your own evergreen content. That's where these next platforms will come more in handy. So managed marketplaces is last but not least. So like #paid is a great one. Creators by Crowdriff, of course, and Billow. So these are best if you want to post lots of content yourself, but don't have the time to like shoot it yourself and create it. So you get all of the assets, but sometimes you'll still need to do the final editing or assembly. So I always describe the managed marketplaces as like, think of it as like your content farm, but you'll still need to like do the cooking unless you pay more for some of these services. But these are tools to just help streamline your workflows, because I don't know about you, but social already takes so much time. So to think of like, oh my God, I'm adding this to my plate, but know that there are these tools in place to help you. And that is all. So yeah, I'm happy to, I know that we had some more questions in the chat, but I just want to share my LinkedIn and the content I make at Crowdriff. I know I make a lot of travel marketing related content, but the social media tips I share, I find are applicable to all industries. So yeah, would just love to connect. And
I love your tips, Senna. So definitely everyone should follow Senna because I learned so much from you. I did see one really good question from Maya, just while we've got time to get to it. So Maya's asking, do you think that UGC creators or influencers are a good thing for accounts that are trying to reach a bit of an older audience? She's saying that's what's the hardest thing to pitch to her bosses. They think that older people might not care about that so much. What do you think?
Totally. That's such a good question. I would say UGC is for everyone. Definitely, I can see how, maybe someone might think like, oh, influencers, that means like, again, like not even knocking on them, but a lot of people can think like, oh, influencers are kind of like mini celebrities and they're talking about makeup or they're talking about this. Like, I can't relate to that. But creators can be like anything and anyone. And I think that is something that the marketing industry is really realizing. Like I've seen UGC come from, older people, right? Like from even like elders, like, really awesome, like depending on like the service that you're trying to promote, right? Like always hearing those firsthand experiences is always going to be more effective. So maybe when you're pitching it to your boss, always mention just like storytelling at its heart, right? Is really what makes creator marketing so special. And yeah, it if anything, it means that you're diversifying too, like the stories that you're telling, maybe even tapping into stories that you wouldn't be able to tell otherwise. So yeah, by reaching more of your local creators, you probably will be tapping into a lot of new audiences too that you haven't tapped into before.
Nice. I love that. Also, Michaela is saying that her mom loves the youngins, so they influence all ages. So,
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. I know my mom is too. Like my mom's always like, why aren't we going here? Like, and I'm like, how'd you find out about this? She's like, on Instagram. And so yeah,
I
we can all be influenced.
I love that. I think we might have time for one more question. So Celestina asks if those apps that you just mentioned to help find influencers, do they only have creators or influencers that have like signed up to those platforms, or do they scour social platforms for good matches?
Yeah, so it depends. Most of those that I've shared, though, they do have the creators and influencers sign up to the platform. So often, I'm sure on the back end they figured out, their commission structure and payment. But yeah, often it is, the influencers have signed up to join that platform and be listed in like the database. And then what's a good thing about those platforms too is that often all of the like the prices, the rates are like standardized. So that's also always like what we say too, like at Crowdriff, like, so you're not paying like, oh, 150 for this person, but oh, this person's 500. Like often those platforms standardize the rates. So that can be really helpful too.
Nice. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I think we are all out of time, but this has been one of the, like, I learned so much in this webinar, and I feel like a lot of people did too. And the analogies and the images, just lots of love in the chat for those.
I'm glad.
So again, your LinkedIn is up, and so if people can like reach out with other questions afterwards. But yeah, thank you so much for everything you shared with us. Lots of love for you in the chat. Thank you so much for everyone for joining, and yeah, we'll see you around.
Yeah, all my
Always,
love back. Thanks,
thank
everyone.
you.